Alright, so this is it's an Audiotool tutorial. I noticed the ones on YouTube are pretty outdated. This is Delve, by the way. Been around for a little while. 2 years, almost 3 years. Yeah. I'm not the person you want to go to for music theory, but I can definitely help out when it comes to the use of the synthesizers and technical aspects of Audiotool. Let's start with the basics. Let's go ahead and do just an analog synthesizer. Get something really basic going here. So right away you're going to see a lot of knobs and it's going to look pretty crazy. Unless you've used a different software before, but it's actually pretty simple when you get down to it. So you should put down a note. Let's just say C, D, E, F. Let's just do that. We can drag all the way around here, all over here, and just plays the whole time. Nice. So the first thing you're going to notice is that there's like a little kind of overlap with the sound. There's, especially right there, you can notice it really well right there because the notes conflict. The sound overlaps, and it's because of the release. So it's going to take 500 milliseconds. So it's going to take half a second for the sound to completely release and stop playing. Turn that down to 0. It's instant, so there's no overlap. It's very clean. The way that you want to change sounds on an analog synthesizer is you just drag this little waveform thing over here, and it changes the blend between all these 4 waveforms. So we see a sine wave, we see a triangle, we see a sawtooth, and a square waveform. And we can just blend them through. So let's go ahead and turn this down a little bit so you can still hear me while it's playing. More to the triangle, so let's get sharper. Sharper. And it starts to square out. Let's go ahead and start. Let's keep it there. It's a nice kind of a retro gaming kind of flute right there. Interesting feel. So you're going to see an oscillator 1 is where all the sound is coming from right now. So OSC1, and you're going to see a bunch of different knobs in this column. Octave, if you're familiar with music at all, you know 1 octave down is the same notes, just one octave down. So it'll sound the same, just lower or higher. So if I play it like this, so it means it's the same notes, it's just lower or higher. Tune, on an analog synthesizer, it isn't particularly useful that I found. Like there are a few niche situations where it's very useful. You can't tune a full octave up. So you have some interesting automations there, but it won't be anything terribly exciting going on. Level, that's basic volume. We have panning, panorama. Go over to the left ear, right ear, back to the center. Now it's a nice sound, but it's a pretty boring sound. So what can we do to spice this up? So we can do a number of things. We can start by adding a different oscillator to the mix. We just turn this one on, we're pressing the on button right here, and it starts playing this waveform at the same time as this one. We can turn the level up, mix it differently. It's a nice little sound. You mess around with some of the tuning. for the purpose of this tutorial, we're just going to keep one oscillator open at once, and let's mess with the noise a little bit. So first thing you're going to notice is that it doesn't sound very nice. Yeah, it sounds pretty terrible, right? It sounds like static. Color is essentially the pitch of the noise, although noise covers a very wide range of frequencies, so it's not an exact pitch, but it's a rough pitch. Now I've noticed for making kind of a flute, the maximum color, or the highest pitch, is generally the best. It blends the best. I want to keep it pretty quiet. Maybe... Let's turn the attack up a little bit, so it's nice. So with the attack, let's say if you have a 50 millisecond attack, it'll take 50 milliseconds to ramp up to full volume. If you make this longer, there's that. Decay. So as soon as it starts, if there's decay, as soon as the note starts playing, it starts decaying, and it will take a total of however much time is left here to decay fully. So let's say 300 milliseconds. Now already we have a pretty nice little flute going here. There's it's nice, right? Now what we can do, let's go over here. Let's hit the glide. Glide's how long it takes to go from one tone to the next. So if I have C there and D there, let's go ahead and slow this down a little bit. No matter the BPM, it'll still take the same amount of time to glide. So if I set this to a 1 second glide, it'll take 1 second to fully change, how fully change the tone to the next selection. Which means it's extremely long. It's not terribly useful after maybe a second. At that point, you're going to be wanting to do your own tuning automations because it's going to be more precise anyways. But generally for this, keep it around, say around 60. Let's go back to original BPM. So this sounds pretty good when it's playing a single note at a time, but does it sound, with the noise, will it sound okay playing a chord? Which, if you don't know what a chord is, it's essentially multiple notes at the same time in the same key. And it makes a nice harmonic sound. Let's do a basic suspended chord, 4 up, then 3 up. So that sounds alright. The noise isn't very nice. So yeah, it sounds alright. It sounds still very, very retro-y. And it doesn't sound the best with the decay. So for every sound that you want to make, you're gonna have to do a different. You have to do something different for every sound that you want to make, every piece of the song. So you're gonna very quickly learn that you can't just slap on the same thing for every synthesizer and hope it would work. Yeah, this is pretty basic melody synthesizer or lead synthesizer. Yeah. So if you want to make something like for, let's say that you're doing electro, right? Electro is a fun genre. There's plenty of other things you can do with the pulverisateur. POV, you know, as it's affectionately called in Audiotool. For electro, your notes are generally going to be pretty low. Let's say around C2. Let's do, oops, losing control of my mouse here. Let's say A1, D2. Let's just ignore the notes for a second. I'm not the best at on the spot note melody making, but that's alright. Let's just make the sustain cut off, like we talked about earlier, or the release cut off. So we have a nice bass right there. You can hear it a little bit. See how it opens up right around 65%? Changes a lot right there. So for electro, you're probably gonna want some pedals. Like you can work with electro bass without any pedals, and it is possible, but you know, it's not gonna sound the best, right? Just a raw synthesizer rarely gets you exactly the sound that you want or need. Just gonna add a little early cutoff right there. Got some noise for some flavor. See, already we're getting kind of into it, right? That sine wave. There's the sub right there. Let's do some tube distortion, which pedals like this, pedal like a tube distortion pedal, would be used for like electric guitars. That's how they make that the nice screaming sound from a regular guitar strum, is they use distortion pedals. That's gonna add some nice distortion. It's gonna give it some flavor. So already we have a pretty nice little electro bass right there. I want to give it stereo. Already nice change right there. It's a nice little electro bass. Can make a mono. After the basic stuff, it's really just down to personal preference and the kind of sound you're going for in your own track. So we have that. Oops, let me go back. So we have this down, right? But what comes after, you know, the basic stuff? Like you have your bass. Let's see, you have an imaginary melody. You want drums, right? Drums are bones for any track. But for drums, something that you don't really hear about, and it doesn't really happen in live performances or live physical performances, is drum compression, so that you can hear the drums clearly punch through the whole song. Like everything's going on, and you just hear the drums clearly. I'm going to show you how to compress sidechain drums. Let's go ahead and start off here. Actually, we probably don't need this. Let's start off with a splitter. So if I plug this in here, everything that comes through this into this is going to be duplicated into these 3 channels that I can send anywhere that I want. So let's say I put out my compressor. I have everything coming from here, all the synthesizers and all the songy song stuff. I have that go to the main input, and I have the drums going to the sidechain, which you can't hear the sidechain directly, but you can hear its effects. So let's find a kick right here. Let's just go over to one-shot samples right here. This little dash. Kick. Just find that I like. This one's fine. Let's do this one. So, let's make another merger. Merge the channels back together. So this will take everything plugged in here and merge it into a single channel. It's kind of like a miniature one of these without all the effects and stuff. And proper blending. So you notice when we come to where the drum hits, there's a dip in volume. I can make that bigger or smaller. It can go way faster or longer. And it'll fit the drum pretty well because the drum is causing it. So let's take another channel from here, which is the drums. That's where the drums are going into. Now let's put it past the compressor into where everything merges back together. Turn the ratio down so it compresses a little less, so a little less noticeable of a gap. There you go, the drum is poking right through. Isn't that nice? So you'll notice the bass kind of sounds a little empty now that we have something else playing next to it. And that's because it doesn't really have, you know, a really thick sub bass that you want, you know, in electro tracks. So let's go ahead and first thing you want to do when you're adding a sub is you want to high pass what you're adding a sub to. So there's no frequency interference. So there's no frequency that this is playing that the sub is also going to be playing. There's no interference at all there. So you just put a slope out. It's the very nice looking pink one. You can just drag the mode over to high pass. This is going to remove all the lower frequencies, you know, under the certain range. So frequency 300, all the frequencies 300 and below, hertz, 300 hertz and below, are going to be removed. Let's go ahead and take away the drums for a second. You notice how lower the ceiling, there's more bass. Raise the ceiling, higher and higher and higher and higher. And that just sounds like a, I don't know, noise. That was neat, wasn't it? Yes. Yeah, that's neat. Let's go to about 200 hertz. And let's drag in another synthesizer. Now to copy the notes from one track to another, you just hold Control, click, and drag. And it's the same notes all the way over there. Let's go ahead and plug this into the Centroid. Plug it in. Let's go ahead and make the release non-existent. And there's a nice sub. I can lower it an octave. That's a little too deep. So you have a nice sub right there. It's a nice, really fills out the bass. Okay, put the drums back. So let's say, you know, maybe you're not into electro, right? Maybe you're into dubstep or trap. Let's say trap. Very popular right now. Let's go ahead and start over. Get another POV, another analog synthesizer. And let's just start with some bass. It's going to be a simple sine wave to begin with. Very round, very basic. Tonal. I'm not going to go crazy with the bass pattern right now, so let's just do E, E. What does it sound like? Let's just do that. Very basic. Let's go ahead and cut this off. Loop it. So you have a basic pattern, right? So to make it sound kind of like an 808, you're going to want some decay. Let's say like around 950. So it's not completely silent by the time the next note starts playing, but it's definitely noticeable. Turn this up a little bit. Move over to square, so it's a lot of flavor. A lot of flavor. And you're thinking like, well, this doesn't sound like trap. What the heck are you doing, Del? Well, I just messed everything up, didn't I? Right. So 808s, to give them a lot of flavor, what you want to do is you want to add a lot of distortion, a lot of extra volume, and then you want to low passes. You take out all the high frequencies, or the majority of the high frequencies. So sounds kind of weird right now. Plug it into some distortion. Low pass. Take it down a little bit. Add some glide. We have kind of a nice little 808 right there. You can make the decay shorter. Might still not be what you're looking for. Just slope it a little bit more. It's rounder. Take off the glide. You can make it lower if you want. Take everything down a little bit. D. Let's say. Nice and low. Yeah. That's not very hard. You just get like a nice square wave, a lot of flavor, distort it, more flavor, more volume. You just take away all the high frequencies. You can do the same thing as a slope with some graphic EQing, but it's a lot easier in the slope. It's very simplified. Let's go ahead and turn the slope off. You see the little boxes right here. They kind of represent what the graphic EQ, what would it look like on the EQ. So let's, if you look at low pass, you see everything on the right hand side, the high frequencies, is just gone. It's out of there. Now it's hard to do this as accurately and as a large enough blanket effect on the graphic EQ. Simply because it can't take off that much volume. It can take off a maximum of 18 decibels from whatever frequency you're trying to reduce. So a slope will generally be better for really blanket tone removals. I'm drinking some hot cocoa right now. It's delicious. All right. So same thing applies for drums, like as for electro. You just want to get your little drum machine right here, the Machiniste, whatever you want to call it. Get your splitter, multiple channels. Get your compressor. Get your merger. Oops. Just go whoop, whoop. Now, for trap and future bass, if you're looking for any kind of drums for trap and future bass, go to One Shot Samples and just look up Dove. If you haven't heard of Dove or you don't listen to Dove stuff, I highly recommend him. He is very, very good. He's been on Audiotool for a very long time. Probably around 5 years now. Not on one account, but he's been on for about 5-6 years. Very long time. Definitely knows what he's doing. He has some quality samples here. Nice drums. See, already that sounds nice with the kick. Let's try this. So you might want to put a kick on like every 808 that you have, or every bass note. You might like the way it sounds like that. I'm not a fan of that. At least I'm not a fan of having all of it go through the compressor. Maybe what you can do is you have it go directly here, just by dragging a chord from a channel to here. And maybe have a kick that doesn't compress, go along with all the notes, and just have the side chaining one set the rhythm. Let's do that. Ooh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it's going to intrude on the song a lot less, and just kind of add to it more. Maybe turn it down a little bit. See, it sounds more like it's part of the bass now. See, it blends in really nicely. Hi-hats, any kind of hats or percussion or lighter percussion, you generally don't want to go through the side chain. Let's say a hat right here. Let's do a basic rhythm. Very nice. Very popular drum pattern that I hear a lot. Let's go ahead and double the length, so it's 16. Right? We see 16 slots right here. All of it 1/16th notes, and 16th of a measure is what it's referring to. So you leave one of these bars. Let's go ahead and double that to 32, so you can use 2 measures at a time in here. It's very popular. Maybe we said at 130. 130 BPM, so a little faster. Very nice. So when you want to copy the drum pattern down to a note track right here, so it's not always playing, you control when it plays. You just right click anywhere on the master notes where there's not a button, and you copy pattern to track, and then clear. So wherever this is, it'll play the track. So now that I have the basic, rhythm down, I can go back and I can add the kicks for every time the bass hits, all of the bass notes except for where the snare is. You never want to layer a kick in the snare and trap. It just sounds awful. With the drum pattern we had, the rhythm we had before, down here, this doesn't blend as well as it used to. What you can do to kind of help with that, sometimes, is you can add a slope. So you're just taking away the fat parts of the kick that make it more of a kick than just a short bass note. echoey now. Let's go ahead and copy that down. Get some hats going. So for fast hats, what we're going to have to do is to go to right click on it, go to create track and a note track. Since you can only do down to 1/16 here, unless you go into some awkward time scaling, you just double click to create a note track. You can go to like 32 or something like that, something crazy small. Let's find the hat. There's one. Yeah. This is how you do like hat rolls. So you have that. This is not going to sound good, just FYI. I'm just showing you how to do hat rolls. So let's go to right there. Let's just do 4. So you can do ones like that, moderate speed ones like that. You can do 1/64th, which is just insanely fast. Some people manage to pull it off though. You know, I'm not a big trap person. I'm not a big trap maker, so I have some issues pulling it off sometimes. But you know, some people can. Some people like it. So yeah, it's very fast. Down to 8 so we can clearly see the bigger bars. Yeah. It's a nice little rhythm right there. Melodies and trap. You know, if you're rapping over it, you generally don't want anything too complex. You just want a nice little flute or something like that that kind of loops and just it's a nice aesthetic. So we looked at how to make a flute earlier, right? Looked at some melody synthesizers for this. Let's go ahead and plug this in. This is going to sound bad right up until I'm done, and then it's going to sound pretty alright. So, let's just start at C. C. Let's go to E. G. A. That's a little high. Maybe I could reverse it. Drag it over here. Still a little high. Let's do it. Let's do like kind of an arpeggio. Not exactly though. Let's make it a little uneven. Have it restart a little early. We're going to do a 5-note pattern. very bright pink one, very bubblegum pink. To make it light, nice and long. Turn down the level so it's not overpowering. Like this is what it sounds like on a regular level. Which doesn't sound terrible. Just a little overpowering. Curve damping, which is pretty much built-in slope, sort of. It's like a filter that takes out some of the high frequencies. Got some stereo, so it sounds nice and wide. So, basic trap right there, right? Now, somebody like, oh, I want temptation basses. Well, that's gonna need more distortion. This is gonna be kind of a meme right here, but let's just do that before wrapping up the trap. So where is this plugged in? This is plugged in input 16. Let's go over to input 16. Yeah, don't do that. Don't ever do that in your track. It's horrible. If you want more distorted, more dirty basses, just add more distortion and kind of make the sloping a little lighter. So there you go. Some basic trap using an analog synthesizer, 2 analog synthesizers, and a matching east. All the drums are made by Dove. Wonderful, wonderful samples.
One.
I recommend you immediately go follow this guy. He's very, very good. Mixed trap. It's lit. I'm neglecting this hot cocoa. Alright, let's talk about future bass. Let's go ahead and reset. Open. Yep, open new track. Empty. Alright, we got another analog synthesizer. It's a very... The reason I'm using analog synthesizers, not the other one, is because for a beginner's perspective, analog synthesizers are much easier to understand. It's a bunch of knobs that you turn, and it's basic interactions, right? You can make this one louder than this one. You can both louder than that one, and make some static in the background, right? It's very straightforward. Very good for beginners. Let's go plug this in. Put one. Future bass is interesting because it requires some music theory, so you can properly make a chord progression. Because there's generally chords in future bass. I've never heard future bass without chords. Let's go ahead and turn the release down. Let's just do a basic suspended chords. 4 up, then 3 up. And let's do 3 up, then 4 up. Just major, minor. Easy. Not the most graceful chords, but easy. Go ahead and turn the waveform over. Kind of a very raw sound, saw sound right here. Now there is LFO options in the POV. I am not a huge fan of the LFO, the low frequency oscillation. That's basically well, it's low frequency. It's the modulation of a wave by any kind of variable. So like if there was a sine LFO on rate. It would just kind of go up and down, very, very smoothly. And it would do that by itself. Let's go ahead and turn sync on, so it's time synced. See, it goes down to 1/2 of a beat. Turn sync off, you get hertz. Which you can, if you can work in hertz, then go for it. More power to you. But syncing is much easier. So 1/12 of a beat. Let's do 1/8 of a beat. The LFO tool here isn't the greatest. I'm not the biggest fan of it. Let's go ahead and destination right here. See destination. Let's go ahead to filter. Turn the depth up a little bit. So already that sounds pretty alright. If a little harsh and raw. Let's try turning the octave down a little bit. So that sounds alright. For future bass, you want to stack some saws. Let's go ahead and add a detune over here. So it's going to be a little off tune. It's going to have a little more voices, a little more stereo. Add some flavor. Here's the stereo. So an alternative to using LFO, if you don't like the way it sounds, a good alternative is to just go over to volume, right click on the volume knob, create automation, and you're going to get this little bar down here. You want to double click on it like a note track. Nice little graph. Just make it real small. Let's say you want 1/8 LFO, volume LFO. Turn here, drives to the bottom, and you just draw your own automation. So it goes in 1/16 of a beat, or 1/16 beat. It goes from negative infinity decibels to 0, so just regular volume, max volume. And you can make that go back down again. You just drag it right here, so it loops. I'll turn the filter off. Notice it's not very sharp, I guess. Go over here, do the same thing over here. Oops. Over to Control, drag, copy, paste. That's a little sharper. So we have our detune. Do some reverb just to give it a nice little pretty effect. Do some reverb, and then we're gonna add some stereo here in a second. That just sounds nasty. Room size. Level down a little bit. Some damping. A nice gentle reverb. So now it's stereo. So what professionals will do is they'll layer like 4 of different sounds that are very similar, but they'll stack 4 different saws on top of each other to get a very thick sound. I'm not going to do that right now, just for the sake of keeping it fairly simple. Just going to add a bass. So for basses, what you don't want to do when bass is from chords, is just copy it over, right? You take the root note of the chord, which is the bottom note of the chord. You just delete everything else. Now it is octave 5, C octave 5, so it is going to be a little high. So you can just highlight the both and drag them all the way down. You can do C octave 1, which is very, very low, and C octave 2, which might be a little high for comfort, but it may be easier on your speakers, or more audible in headphones than C octave 1. Turn release down. To create automations like this, and you can copy and paste automations the same way you copy paste note tracks. So I just go over here, highlight them both, Control, drag. Nice. So what I could have done instead of the root note is I could do the center note, which is what changes. So F and E. I can do that in octave 1, which might actually make for easier listening. Let's do F right here, and then E. That's fatter, right? It's a very nice tonal range for a sub. For drums, it's gonna be very similar to trap. Maybe not quite as dark or heavy, but it's gonna be pretty similar. Let's add a little bit to this real quick. Let's go turn this on. Copy the same automation. Super easy. Add that an octave down, just give it some juice. Alright, it's a little juicier. Now, the big thing that people want to know about future bass, like how am I going to decide to do that? So nice, is arps or arpeggio notes. Super easy to do with chords. You just copy the chords over, right? Chords turn release down. Let's go over here, double click. So you see the notes. Let's just say 1/16. This might sound a little awkward, so 1/16. So see C5, root note. Double click, add 16th note in place. Second, F5. A. I just copy this. Let's just copy it all the way over there. And you notice it will kind of overlap, so it's going to be imperfect. So for the last bit, you might want to just do it in by hand. So CFA, CFA, CA, no, not CA, CF. And here it's going to be CE, A. Copy. Now you can do this faster, you can do this slower. It's all about the feel that you're going for and your track and personal preference. Let's go cut that off. It's kind of a nice thing, right? Like, let's go ahead and mute this by just turning off the note track. It just adds some nice backgrounds. It's not quite a melody, but it's not quite anything else. You can, of course, do reverb and stereo, make it fill it out nicely. I'm loving it. Yeah. Of course, things get more complex as you delve deeper into it. But that's the gist of future bass. It's basic future bass. Note, chord patterns, progressions that get more complex. All those things are pretty much up to you to learn and kind of develop your own style for after the basics. So now that I've talked about analog synthesizers for a while, let's go ahead and talk about digital synthesizers. These things, this video is going to turn into a rant. So digital synthesizers, they are very complex, and you don't need to fully understand them to use them. You don't have to understand how phase modulation works fully to use them, but it definitely helps understand what's going on. So something I do a lot with Heisenberg's, the digital synthesizer, or phase modulation synthesizer, PM, FM, whatever you want to call it, synthesizer, is I make dubstep basses. Very loud, in your face kind of dubstep basses. Let me explain this as I go. So plug it in. From the get-go, it sounds. Let's go ahead and reset this. Get-go, it sounds pretty similar to the analog. You have your release, right? Turn that off. See, it already has decay bending and sustain. Let's go ahead and flatten that out. straight tone. So for dubstep bass, you want to be around the same as the sub bass. Let's turn it down. Let's go to turn off 116. Let's do 1/4 E. E is a very nice note for dubstep basses. So yeah, the basic pattern right there. Square wave. This is nothing you haven't heard before, right? But as soon as we start modulating stuff, that's where it starts to get interesting. So it's what the heck's happening there? So I've gone to this page a bazillion times, and more to show other people the gist of phase modulation. It is a very, very useful GIF image that I'm about to show you. It definitely helps. So this is essentially the gist of phase modulation. So if I have a sine wave right here, sine wave, modulated 100% by another sine wave, it's going to produce this wave, which makes, a certain sound. So if I did this, phase modulation B, which is B, right? Row A, B, 100. That is what that sounds like. Starting to lag because I'm on a different tab. And so you can there's a lot more customization as far as the sounds you can get from phase modulation, because you can modulate one waveform by several other waveforms and kind of blend it in there. There's a ton of crazy stuff you can do. Let's go back to my square wave. So tone or note is just another way of saying frequency. And frequency is just how fast something, completes a cycle. So if this was moving at twice the frequency, it would just be this wave moving all the way through this little box twice as fast. And that definitely changes how everything interacts, right? Something I like to do is turn up the pitch. So 12 semitones is the equivalent of an octave, right? I like to do 11.9 semitones, just kind of give it kind of a detuned feel, adds flavor. Now I generally use these kind of waveforms, like these 3 waveforms right here, when I modulate a square wave by something else for dubstep bass. It sounds very, very nice. I've messed with a bunch of these, and it's just, this one produces, in my opinion, some of the better dubstep. I'll do this for a lot of these, pretty much all of this. So let's go to 11.9, 11.9, modulation up. So this one. So already it's kind of a nice, little flat bass. But you want wubs, right? You want wubs. LFO is super easy in this. So here's the shape of the LFO, right? The sinus. That completes offbeat. It goes up and then it goes down and then it resets. So right in the center, it's not max volume or lowest volume. But it's kind of offbeat. So we're going to do triangle instead. Right in the center. Max volume. Just turn it up right here. Move the rate over to, let's say, 1/8. Very nice, right? That's without any pedals. Let's add some distortion, some flavor, some detune. Distortion for texture and then detune for flavor. Already sound really, really nasty, right? Let's get the slope because we're going to add a sub later. High pass. Now something I do enjoy using quite a lot, excuse me, to kind of sharpen out basses is a chorus. Now what this does is it pretty much adds I don't want to say it's not the equivalent of adding more voices. It's very similar. Right away, it's gonna sound kind of weird. Let's do speed all the way down, spread all the way up. That sounds better, right? Go down a little lower, on depth. That sounds metallic. Go ahead and turn that up. Alrighty, super metallic. Let's get a nice sub. Release off. Copy the notes over. Triangle. 1/8. LFO1, oscillator A, turn way up. Connect, centroid, input 2. So you notice how it starts off beat and then kind of corrects itself. You want to turn on restart. So every time the note plays, it starts the LFO over from the beginning. It's very, very useful. They already have a dubstep bass. Yeah, nice little bass right there. Let's do 1/16, so it's a little faster. Just kind of show off what's going on here, what you can do with this. Do sawtooth, like a stab. It's kind of interesting. So what you can do on the Heisenberg is you see you have a visual filter now. Oh no, low pass, right? What the heck is this useful for, right? What you can do is filter modulation. So I can actually turn LFO1, filter modulation 100, so it'll start there, and then it'll peak, or it'll peak wherever it peaks. It'll peak at the front, where the filter's pretty much off, and then it'll go down with the waveform until the bass. So right here. It's a very juicy stab like that. Add some nice reverb and maybe some stereo. Now, if you can't tell, I'm a bit more proficient when it comes to digital synthesizers than analog. It's because I started on the digital synthesizer, and I just didn't want to learn the analog. It just wasn't attractive to me. And I only learned how to use it, the basics, really a few weeks ago, to be honest with you. But because I have a few years of experience now, excuse me, with making music, it was easier to grasp for me. Turn the damping up. Lots of flavor, right? Reverb is just personal preference, to be honest with you. Drum compression, you want to do that in dubstep too. Pretty much everywhere you need drum compression. Yeah. What else can I talk about? I could just kind of briefly show off, I guess, as to what can be accomplished. Let's go ahead and reset this. So super saws, Heisenberg is kind of an interesting story for super saws because they're very easy to make right and they're very easy to make wrong. So super saw stacking in future bass. Let's just make a chord real quick. Ooh, plug this in. I'll just do sawtooth so I can kind of hear what it would sound like. Let's do A, let's do F, let's do C. Let's loop that chord. chord. Sounds bad now, but you know, it always does in the beginning. Let's just stick to A. The second chord is always the hardest one for me. Move it up to F. I'm not going to be talking much because I'm listening to it as much as I am anything else explaining it. So we're going to detune 12.15. Let's go down an octave for some juice. Down 12s, medium volume, same waveform. 0.1. Alright, basic superstar right there. Triangle. 1/8. Where we start. 100. 100. 100. Add detune. Graphic equalizer. Exciter. Stereo. Yoop. 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 Take the low ends. Do a little high end. Add another. Let's go ahead and already add the pedals in. So another detune. Another graphic equalizer. Not going to do the exciter this time. Stereo enhancer. So plug everything up. Plug, 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 plug. Same tuning scheme right here. 0.15, oops. 0.5, -12. 0.1. Let's see how this sounds down here. It's not bad actually. Let's do -1%, just a little bit. Now this one isn't going to be detuned at all. This one's going to be mono. It's not going to be stereo, it's going to be mono. It's going to be flat. It's going to kind of fill in the middle section. Tone-wise and spread-wise. I'm neglecting this hot cocoa. Now it's just mildly warm cocoa. That's a shame. Alright. Let's go ahead and erase that. Actually, let's go back a little bit. That. Let's do that. Let's see how this sounds for bass. Drag it all you don't have to have variation in the cell, or it's going to get kind of repetitive. Even though it's just a small, I forgot the bass note was, a small part of the total sound is going to get repetitive. It's the same underlying note. So I'll get up. That's pretty nice. So Audiotool is a free software. Hate to break it to you. It's not going to sound like FL. Well, most cases it's not going to sound like FL with good plugins. It's not going to sound like Ableton, not going to sound like Reason, Cubase, Logic, anything like that. It is, however, a very, very, very good product for its price, which is $0. There's no ads, there's no nothing. It's a very impressive project. You can support Audiotool on Patreon. When you first log in, you're going to see something on your notifications page, your feed, saying, please support us. Please do. These guys don't get paid diddly squat to do this for their website, for these people, and you, and me. They just made an awesome, awesome tool, which has gotten thousands and thousands of people into making music. And, you know, it's great. They're not getting paid. They're just great guys. You should definitely support them if you can. I am supporting them. When you see somebody with a blue star next to their name, or next to their portrait, that means they're an Audiotool Patreon. So they have a set monthly donation set up. That's anywhere $1 and up. So you can just donate $1 a month to your Patreon. It helps out. It makes it so these guys can take time off, work or something like that, and actually get compensated a little bit for all their hard work over the past several years, which is really, really awesome. Music wasn't a hobby of mine until I found Audiotool freshman year of my high school career, and I just used Audiotool and I got into it, and it's great. I now own FL Studio, and I'm going to start having a presence on SoundCloud pretty soon, and pumping out some full tracks, dubstep and future bass, maybe a few film scoring stuff. Oh my goodness. And I couldn't have done it without the Audiotool devs making this beautiful, beautiful website for everybody for free with no ads. Just think about how amazing that is. It's free and there's no ads, and it's high quality. That is just such a rarity. It really is amazing. Let's turn that up a little bit. So what I'm doing right here is auxiliary reverb. So you see all these channels right here. I can turn up the auxiliary send, so it'll send this. It's gonna send a channel of it all the way back through all this right here into the aux return, which is gonna be mixed into this, the master output. So reverb sounds very, very good here, and it's much more efficient to do it here, because would you rather have a bazillion reverb pedals for every one of these, making your computer sweat, or would you rather have just one? It's pretty obvious which one is easier to manage. You turn on the auxiliary sounds. It's nice. Add some drums, compression. Yoop, 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 yoop. Let's get rid of you. Oops. Plug. Plug. Yeah. I'm not the best person on Audiotool. I'm not the worst person on Audiotool. Been around for a while. I was just wanting to update self-plug right here, shameless self-plug, 5 months ago. So this right here, spring cleaning, is a very good example of, how quality Audiotool can sound in the right hands. Let's skip over right here. Yeah, very, very nice. And you see the description, right? You see everybody else talking. It's a very helpful community. Everybody collaborates. Everybody, usually keeps their ego under control. And we all recognize that everyone else here is a producer. And you're not the most unique person in the world. You're very nice. Yeah, it's people you need to follow. This guy, of course. Very, very good. Makes a lot of future bass. If you're into future bass, definitely follow this guy. So he's one of your guys for future bass. Dove, I already mentioned him earlier. Right now I'm just giving recommendations to newcomers. Dove, very, very good trap. Let's go ahead and over here. Now I hate to break it to you, but this trap is actually creative. Unlike a lot of stuff nowadays. Also check out Neek. Neek is very good with trap. Yeah, here's a, somebody who's not very big here, right? Rapping.
Bitch, I'm broke as shit, but I still fucks your bitch.
Not very, well produced. But hey, Dove, a larger up guy, helped him out, right?
Bitch, I'm broke as shit, but I still fucks your bitch. I didn't have to ask, cause she was with the shits.
Everybody helps each other out here. It's very nice. If you like music at all, doesn't matter what kind of music you like. If you like music at all, look up Lux. Original name was Lux here, but it's Lux now. He is incredibly creative. He's genius. Unfortunately, he's not very active anymore because of school. School's kind of taken over, unfortunately. This is very, very good. He's godly. Godly, I tell you. If you like more chill trap, Ford is your guy. He's your guy. Ford. Very good study. Very, very good. There is a track that he hid, which is, it's nice. It's a little overrated. He hid it. You can find it by looking up 17 Years YRS, and then you can find remixes of it and go to the original from there. there's no shortage of generic trap on here. No shortage at all. Ooh, new message. Oh, I saw that earlier. Why does it say it's new? Je ne sais pas. C'est pas. I don't know. Older tracks that are very high quality. Look up. Nope, I spelled it wrong. I'm an idiot. Genesis, right? Nice tracks. Je t'aime.
You in French. Je t'aime.
Very, very nice. Very funky. Dubline. If you like drum and bass, very, very chilled up drum and bass, follow Dubline. Definitely. My personal favorite by him is Lost and Found. This thing is amazing. Very, very chill vibes. This is on Genesis. Very nice. Yeah. Now, the more you explore Audiotool, the more music you're gonna find. Some of it old, some of it new. You're gonna find a lot of quality stuff. As far as using the app, I may continue this, making more videos. I'm not sure. I really don't know. I'm not a teacher, right? I don't know what to start with. I don't know what needs to be, what order things need to be done in, how fast I can get advanced. I really don't know. Yes, I guess let me know. I'm probably going to be posting this in my description and somewhere on YouTube. And I'll probably put it on the board. I'll make a board post too, asking anybody to put in more production help. I'll put it in production and I guess sound design. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So I could definitely put something up here. Yeah. Don't underestimate free software. If you can't make a sound can't quite make the sound that you want, I would blame it on the software. There have been some amazing things done on the software. Let's go to Virtual Riot. This was not done in Audiotool, by the way. I'm just gonna show that to you. Just don't underestimate free software. It doesn't sound exact, but it's pretty close if I say so myself. Yeah. Very nice things can be done. If you want some hardcore, banging dubstep, Sweatpants is your dude. He really is. Sweatpants is also Dove, by the way. Just a different account. Yeah, right. Good. Yeah, well, I hope whether you're a veteran or new or somewhere in the middle, that you learn something. Yeah. Bye. I guess. Yeah, this is it. Bye.